Oh, it's so nice to see you again. I feel like this is like our annual hangout where we
This
just hang
is
out on
our
this event
annual
and hopefully
hangout.
try and add value to the audience.
I love it. Once a year, we get to do this on summits. And since then, yeah, you've moved lots of life changes. We feel so grateful to have you with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Just want to make sure we can, help out the people in the audience. We've got over 1,000 people here, so it's very exciting.
I love it. I do want to know, do you have your whiteboard handy? I know in the past you've been able to like bring up your whiteboard and kind of be able to doodle with us. Is that something that you have access today?
I do. If you can see this, can you see doodles? If I
Yep, I can see the doodles. Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
Because my first question does involve this. And I love whenever you draw things out, you get super literal and the audience freaking loves it. So to kick us off, if you were to map out a community engine of your business on a whiteboard, what are the core components that you feel like actually drive growth for your community today?
Okay, good question. So for us, basically, we have one core community now, which is our kind of lifestyle business academy, lifestyle biz academy. And so that's sort of like the core community that everything is underneath, including our like YouTube stuff and our like productivity stuff and our sort of how to build a business stuff. And really, mostly that's like YouTube that's driving, actually, it's not quite driving people there. It's mostly YouTube that's driving people to email. And then email is driving people to the products. But somewhat recently, we've started taking Instagram seriously, and we are starting to take LinkedIn seriously as well. But really, the idea behind these things is that they're kind of driving traffic to the email list via lead magnets. And so the nice thing about that is that it means we don't need to sell too hard, sort of to the top of the funnel, like to the audience on social media. We've got Black Friday coming up, so we're doing like a little bit of like, hey, there's an offer on our YouTuber Academy, but we very rarely like straight up sell our like expensive courses or community. We mostly get them on the email list, and then we do a lot of like value selling in the emails, where an email will have like a bunch of stuff that's really helpful, and at the bottom there might be like a PS, would you be interested in signing up to one of our programs? And then that is really the thing that gets people into the community to either buy one of our courses or to apply for our like high ticket program. So that's sort of what it looks like.
I love it. This is great. I want to zero in on YouTube, like the top of funnel here, because you have the mid to bottom funnel pretty built out. How do you know what pieces of content are going to drive traffic to your paid membership community? Because I know that you tend to create content about different things you're passionate about, projects you're working on. How do you know, or maybe how do you strategize specifically what to create that you know is going to drive, hey, we're going to get so many more signups because of this one piece of content from YouTube or LinkedIn?
Yeah, so there's sort of what we've done historically, and what we're trying to do now. So I'll tell you what we did historically. Historically, it was a little bit of a mess. Historically, this was me, and I was a special snowflake because I was like interested in all these different things. I was interested in productivity, and so we'd make videos about that. We'd make videos about how to build a YouTube channel. We would do some content about business. We would do some content about books, some content around tech. And this is all nice because, we all contain multitudes and all of that stuff. The issue with doing content about like everything is that it then leads to a lack of alignment because, we had a YouTube course that was making some money, and we had a productivity community that was making some money, and we sort of had an app that was making some money, but it was very like scattered focus in all of these different directions, which meant, the channel was growing, the personal brand was fine. But we are actually making a lot less money than a lot of other people that have more like alignment, where there's like a clear link between the stuff they create content about, and the stuff that they sell. So recently, the transition that we've sort of started to do, is basically recognizing that, why do people want to start a YouTube channel? Why do people want to start a lifestyle business? In many ways, analyzing the most successful people even in our productivity community, there was one clear thread that was unifying all of these, and that was the idea of freedom. Broadly, when we think of our target audience and like the people getting the most value from our stuff, it was like working professionals who have jobs, that society considers successful, but really they want more freedom. They want more time freedom, financial freedom, and creative freedom. And so over the last few months, we've been doing a little bit of a pivot where we've been realizing that, hey, actually, the people vibing with my stuff most are the ones who want this kind of freedom. So why don't we just lean into that? And so now, in a way, the way we're viewing it is like, you know how like on a camera, you've got like the lens, and then within the lens, you've got like the aperture. It's sort of like the aperture is the thing that's sort of like focusing the light. Like light comes in, and then the aperture is sort of like focusing it. Um, the way that I'm thinking of it is that this idea of freedom is the core aperture. It's like the core thing that people want, which means I can still talk about productivity and like tech and like business and like being a creator. But when we frame it around the lens of freedom, it seems to resonate much better. And it also, from my perspective, then leads to more people to buy our stuff because now there's like one clear unifying message behind it. And so I was giving a talk at a mastermind the other day, and this has been one of my learnings over the last couple of years, where I suspect all of us here have multiple interests. We enjoy doing lots of different things. It's worth figuring out like what's the one core big thing that your audience wants, and trying to frame the various different things you do sort of underneath that lens of that one core thing that everyone wants. I used to think it was productivity. Maybe back in the day it was productivity, but increasingly as I've gotten older, as my career has advanced, what people in my audience want fundamentally is freedom. And productivity just happens to be a sort of vehicle to get them to the financial freedom that they really want. So just kind of leaning into that. And I wish we'd kind of made this transition a little bit earlier.
Thank you for sharing the arc of that too. It does require time and really listening and knowing your audience to see that shift from, even seeing, okay, maybe they want productivity to now it's trending more towards freedom. How do you, for people that are maybe in a stage where they're trying to figure out what their audience actually wants, there is like a trial and error period. How long do you typically wait from having a assumption of like, I don't know if this is the right messaging, to then having the clarity of like, okay, it's freedom they want? Like, what does that, I guess, like inner discovery work look like for you and your team to really find that out? Because I find that piece around messaging tends to really trip people up when they're starting out. And then it seeps into, I can't create the right product. I can't launch the right membership because I just don't have the right messaging.
Yeah, I know. I totally get it. For us over the years, and especially recently, the best thing we have found is the thing that we always avoid, which is actually talking to people. And whenever we talk to people in the audience, that is when we get insane amounts of insights. So I've done a couple of, this is why I do real life events. I host free events here in Hong Kong, and also when I travel, where we lose money on the events, but like we'll get 50 to 100 people in the room who have followed me for months to years, and by getting a feel for what's resonating with them, where their eyes are lighting up, and then the questions they come up to me afterwards to ask. Like I'll stay for hours behind at one of these events to just answer people's questions until like midnight, because it's just incredible market research. It's so good. And even like last month when we 2 months ago when we launched our Lifestyle Business Academy offer for the first time, I actually took like 40 sales calls myself. I'd never done a sales call before, but I hopped on like 40 one-on-one sales calls with people in the audience who'd applied for the program. And that was, again, incredibly valuable in helping me get a feel for what do people actually want. This is the thing. Anytime we've tried to create a product, not talking to the audience, it's always flopped. And whenever we've actually spoken to people in the audience, either me or someone in the team, or like put out surveys to the audience to figure out like, okay, what are people really struggling with? That is where, when we can get the audience to describe their own problems and fears and frustrations and concerns in their own words, that massively helps us build better products and land on this. And that's what helped us land on this idea of freedom. And especially now with AI, it's so easy. You just take the transcript of a Zoom call, take a bunch of them, chuck them into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, and you can literally get it to create like your kind of, I really like Donald Miller's story brand framework. And so I'll say to Claude, hey, this is some insights from a customer discussion I just had. Help me formulate my ideal story brand SB7 brand script for my personal brand. And it will do an amazing job of like walking through the 7-part structure of the story brand framework to help me figure out what does my audience want.
Got it. Okay. So I'm curious, was your audience asking for productivity lab? Were they asking for a part-time YouTuber academy?
They
Like,
were, yeah, good
I'm
question.
curious, those are your 2 memberships. I know you've merged them now, into one main community,
Yeah,
but
they
what were
were
those?
asking for the YouTuber Academy, but no one was asking for Productivity Lab, which is why Productivity Lab kind of flopped. And
Okay.
that was a thing that I was like, oh, I'm the productivity guy. It would be so cool to have a productivity. It was based on what I thought was cool. And
Mm,
that was just not what the market wanted. And it was such a painful like process of like trying to make this thing work. And so yeah, it's not been good.
okay. So now that you've, kind of sunsetted Productivity Lab on its own and you've merged the communities together, what kind of metrics, maybe even soft metrics, not even hard metrics, are you looking for to see if that was actually a success? Like, are you getting back on calls with existing members? Are you seeing engagement increase? Like, how are you seeing the existing membership now that it's been merged? How do you know that it's working?
I think the thing with this stuff is you never really know if it's working. Mostly it's based on, I think of who are the people who are paying us the most money and are they having a good time? So every
Mm,
week we're like we're monitoring student engagement, where, we've got like a refund guarantee. And part of the conditions of that is they have to fill out a weekly survey where we're asking them what they're struggling with. We have like unlimited one-on-one WhatsApp support. And so I have a real finger on the pulse. To your point that you made in the introduction around, I think the creator world is leaning more and more towards these sort of high touch, close knit communities. Like all the people in our first couple of cohorts of the Lifestyle Business Academy have my personal WhatsApp number, and I'm in the WhatsApp groups in every single one of them. And I was replying to some people just now because Cloudflare has gone down, and people are wondering why ChatGPT isn't working and stuff like that. And that finger on the pulse is really helping me come up with content ideas, but also feels much more fulfilling than things I've done in the past, because when you're working with like small numbers of real people, there's something really nice about that. Whereas when
mhm.
it's all just like numbers on a screen, and it's like, you know, it's hard to feel the difference between like 1 million and 2 million, but it's very easy to feel the impact of like a one-on-one conversation over WhatsApp with someone. So mostly it's sort of fingertip feel plus weekly surveys.
Yeah. Super helpful. You're already kind of proving one of the trends that is in my next presentation around people are moving away from like growth for growth's sake and really focusing on member transformation, member experiences, and member connection over mass growth. So I want to hear you share a little bit more around moving away from mass numbers and like not that obviously there's a revenue component. The more people that you serve, the more that you're able to sell, the more money that you're able to make. I'm curious how you kind of hold space for both of those things. Like there's obviously a money making component to your business, but
Yeah.
there's also, as you just mentioned, your first couple of cohorts with 50, 100 people in there, you're able to go much deeper with them. And it feels more meaningful for you as the creator to actually keep showing up. It feels like sustainable versus when you log into a community with thousands of people, while someone might be like, oh, that's successful, it doesn't necessarily scratch that itch for you as the creator.
Yes, absolutely. So I think about this in terms of this graph. So it's a graph of like people and price. So let's say you wanted to make 100K. Let's say you want to make 100K a year. You could have a really high price. So you could sell something for literally 100K, and you could sell it to one person, or you could sell 10 things for 10K, or you could sell 100 things for 1K, or you could sell 1,000 things for $100, or you could sell 10,000 things for $10, or you could sell 100,000 things for $1. Now, back when I was a noob to the world of business, I would have thought that like, hey, it's easy enough to sell things in this range, right? Like, because I can imagine spending $1 on something. I can imagine spending $10 on something. I can even imagine spending $100 on something. But like, I could never imagine spending 1,000 or 10,000, let alone 100,000 on anything. But what I've really realized over time that every entrepreneur eventually figures out is that it is a lot harder to do stuff on this side of the curve. Like the volume is the hard part, and especially in a world where AI content is becoming easier and easier to generate. The barriers to entry are getting lower and lower. Platforms like Circle make it easy for anyone to whip up a community, and you can just like start charging money to people, etc., etc. It's just so hard to build a business where you're having to get these sorts of high numbers, like 10,000 customers it's so hard to sell 10,000 of anything, even if the thing is $10. Yes, it's easy to make a single sale for $10, but it's really, really hard to get 10,000 people to buy anything. And I think, like, case in point, like, my book came out a couple of years ago, and I had like, I don't know, 7 million or 6 million followers on social media at the time. And we only barely got like, I don't know, 10,000 pre-orders for my book. It's so hard to get, like, even of 6 million people, we barely got 10,000 pre-orders, at least in the US, to get on the New York Times list. And so it's just so hard to get like large numbers of people to do anything. Similarly, you probably don't want to be in the zone where you're selling one thing for 100 grand, because that's called having a job. But this zone here, where you're sort of selling high ticket things, I really like the 2K to 20K price point. You actually need relatively few customers at this kind of price point to be able to build a very successful 6 or 7 figure lifestyle business. And so, for our students, what we're encouraging people to do is, actually, we're basically forcing people, like, you have to sell something for at least 2 grand. Because I think in a world where the value of information drops to zero because anyone can just ask ChatGPT, I think the era of like the $10 ebook or the $100 self-paced online course or whatever, we all love the idea of it because we're like, oh my God, passive income, that would be incredible. But I think the way the world is going, it's actually going to be a lot less about how can I make something mass market to be as passive as possible, and much more, how can I have high touch, high value experiences with a small number of people that they'll really value, that can sort of thrive on this idea of human connection. Because you just need way less people in order to do that. And so in our case, our view counts on YouTube have plateaued since like 2022, since the pandemic. And so we're also seeing, as are all of my other like big YouTuber friends, that it's getting harder and harder to get views on social media, which means it's getting harder and harder to play the volume game, which is why most of us are sort of moving into this zone where high-priced experiences that are high touch, focused on community and focused on connection. That's kind of how we're approaching it.
Okay. And how do you tend to value, like, obviously you are the expert and people are looking to learn from you. I hear this very often when, in masterminds and teaching about community, is there's like almost a natural intentional shift away from, I only want to learn from Ali Abdaal, versus I want to be in Ali Abdaal's community. I want to access his knowledge, but I want to be in a community with other people that are like-minded that I can learn from. And maybe we're learning more peer to peer than this pressure of, you're the expert, you have to be the one going live in the community, you're the one teaching. I hear this often, and it can actually be a reason why some folks end up not even launching a community, because they're nervous about the overwhelm of, well, I have to be the one to answer every question, go live every time, post every comment. I'm curious how you think about that, because I know that you have a team to support you, but also like that natural separation from you versus creating a true peer-to-peer community.
Yeah, totally. So we think about this a lot. The way that we think about it is, firstly, like, I do a weekly workshop because I like teaching once a week. And if I can't make it, we'll bring on an expert or a specialist or whatever to talk about that particular topic. I think there's a phrase I really like, which is, a drop of pre-frame is worth a gallon of reframe. So the way that we pre-framed the thing was that it was, curriculum, coaching, and community. And the only part of it, of the offer, where it was like, you get access to me, was when I do the weekly workshops. And for all of the rest, we pre-framed it to the students of our program, that a part of it is the community. You're going to be connecting with other like-minded entrepreneurs working towards financial freedom. You've got my team of coaches. You're going to get your own coach, and you'll be able to talk to your coach about anything. So now when I'm in the WhatsApp groups replying to people, they're not expecting that. And so it's a bonus that, like, holy shit, I just got a voice note from Ali Abdaal. Whoa, I didn't realize he was active in this WhatsApp group. The expectation is that one of the coaches will respond, or that someone in the community will respond, which is kind of nice. Like, we made the mistake in the past of doing things that promised too much of my time. And I think really, partly people want access to the creator, but really what they care about is the result that you're promising them. And so if they can get that result in a short amount of time without having access to the creator, usually they're totally happy with that, provided they're able to get the result. And so our challenge now is building systems that scale, where our coaches can give feedback to people on their niches and offers in their businesses without me having to review every single one manually. And so that's kind of our next adventure of, like, making that happen.
I love that. You mentioned what's going to help your community member get the best result. Can you talk about that? How do you design programming or a community experience that is focused on results? I know you and I have spent a lot of time in the creator economy where people are really good at marketing and they're really good at sales, but they aren't always good at necessarily delivering the value and delivering the true transformation that they're selling. And I've only heard amazing things about Part-Time YouTuber Academy and Productivity Lab, and everyone I come across is like, I actually took his course 5 years ago and now I have a channel that's doing, X amount of dollars. And so you've really helped folks get transformation. How did you design that? And how did you actually, like, I would say, architect your way to getting people real results?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the first thing to caveat is like it is still a tiny, tiny minority of students that actually get the results. Of
Mhm.
the, I don't know, 20,000 people who have taken our YouTube Foundations course or the other 7,000 that have taken our YouTuber Academy, maybe 1% of them have actually done the work. 99% of the people with a self-paced online course type program won't actually do the work. And in fact, a lot of people buy the program and never even log into it. I think maybe only like 20 to 30% of people even log in and even like do the first thing. So I wish the success rates of that kind of thing were higher. But this is another reason why we're going down the high ticket, high touch direction, because if someone's in our Lifestyle Business Academy program, there's no way we're letting them just not do anything, because like the conditions of them being part of the program requires them to do stuff. And like the team is in there sort of like constantly following up, making sure they're okay, all of that kind of stuff, which again, you can't do when you're selling cheap things. But when you're selling expensive things to a small number of people, you and your team are actually able to help them one-on-one, which just really helps people get results. But kind of like the way that I think about is that any kind of offer is made up of sort of 5 components. There's the person and the problem. This is often known as a niche. So in our case, it might be, I don't know, we help people grow YouTube channels, which would be the person and the problem, or we would help working professionals. The problem is that they hate their jobs and they're not sufficiently free. And so it's like, okay, cool, that's the niche. The person and the problem leads to a promise, which is the thing that they want. What is like the dream outcome that like your program is promising them or your community is promising them? In our case, I think our messaging is sort of build a 100K a year lifestyle business in under 12 months, guaranteed. um, Under 12 months. And so that's a pretty cool promise. It's like, all right, cool. That is the thing that people want. So we now know, like, after a lot of soul searching and figuring out, like, what is actually the thing people want? I was like, okay, if people say, if you could give someone a magic wand, this is sort of like the magic wand test. If you could give someone a magic wand and without doing any work, you just wave the magic wand and give them the thing that they want, what is the thing that they want? For some people, it's like it's actually kind of like $1 million lifestyle business, MDLB, where they're doing $1 million in revenue, high 6 figures in profit. They've got fun, freedom, flexibility. They're living the dream, et cetera, et cetera. But we found that actually when leading with $1 million, it seemed too unbelievable for people. And so we actually just like simplified it to 100K a year. And when testing it with people at events and doing videos and podcasts and stuff, that really resonated with people. So you've got the promise. So now you know what's the destination you're trying to get to. Now, downstream of that, you have the process. What is the process that someone would have to follow? Let's say this is their current situation, and the dream outcome is on the other side of this. Right now they're in their current situation, which they're, let's say, unhappy with, and their dream outcome is where they've now got their 100K a year lifestyle business, or whatever your dream outcome is that you've decided for your program or for your community. It's like, what is the step-by-step process that someone would have to follow, where if they followed the steps, they would inevitably get the result? And so this is how we design our programs. I think of it a lot less like, how do I design the community? I actually think that like community is just one layer of the triangle. The other layer is curriculum. So generally there's some level of like an online course that goes along with it, because you've got to teach people stuff. And then there's some level of coaching that sort of helps them when they get stuck or when they need emotional support. And so community, I think it would be very hard to design a community that gets people results, because the community is sort of like, it's more like vibes and connections with other people and stuff. And you can't really rely on the people in the community to do the heavy lifting in terms of teaching them what they need to know and helping them out, sort of in a reliable fashion. But the
Right.
community is really, really nice for like the support. So in terms of things that people need to do, there's like, for any kind of outcome, there's strategy, which is sort of like what to do. There's skills, which is how to do it. There's actually getting started. So starting, there's sticking to it, and then there's support. These are like the 5 S's that people need. This is again how we think about it in terms of like program design. These are the 5 S's that people need. So the course teaches them what to do. The course teaches them the skills of how to do it. The community actually does help them with starting and with sticking, and then the coaching helps them with support. So in a way, like the community is just really helpful for like getting started and sticking with it when the going gets tough. And the curriculum is doing the heavy lifting for strategy and skills, and the coaching team is doing the heavy lifting for support. And obviously, if you're just starting out, you are the coaching team, but then over time, as you scale your program, you end up with multiple coaches and that whole situation going on. So this is how we design our programs, having tried to do this for many, many years and landed on a process that seems to work.
This is great. I love the emphasis on designing and architecting a product for transformation, realizing that community is the vehicle in which you're delivering the product, but not focusing on how do you make the community transformational. So it's like really the programming, the product itself, and then how do you leverage community to create the overall vibe and like kind of subculture, if you will, of the product itself. I have a question around high ticket cohorts. Moving more towards cohorts, moving towards memberships. I'm curious where your head is, especially heading into the new year. Before I ask it though, we do have about 15 minutes ish left with Ollie, and would love for you guys to drop questions in the chat that I can ask him. You can use the question box feature that's down here on this row of buttons. It's a little question mark in a box. You can submit your question there, or you can put it in the chat. But I just want to give you all some time to ask those questions. Ollie, how are you thinking about cohort programs versus membership, like ongoing evergreen heading into 2026? Any hot takes?
Yeah, my hot take is that, so I know a lot of people who run ongoing membership programs, and they all complain about how hard it is to run an ongoing membership program, because having to provide, like if someone's paying a monthly subscription for a thing, man, you got to show up and keep providing them stuff. Unfortunately, because people are like sort of price pegged to like Netflix. It's like, man, Netflix is only $15 a month, and think of all of the content that you get on Netflix. And so the tricky thing with a membership as well is that once someone is in, if you automatically give them access to all of the materials and stuff, then they get access to all of that in month number 1. And so what's the point of them staying from month number 2, 3, 4, 5? And so I know loads of people who run membership sites who like their average LTV, like lifetime value for a customer, is like 3 months. And so they're constantly fighting churn, because the churn thing is really hard. But if instead of it being a membership, it is a transformational program that over the course of 3 months or 6 months or 12 months leads to a specific outcome, then at least from what I've seen in the market and what's been working for us, people don't think of it as this is another monthly subscription that I have to pay. People think of it as like almost like taking an MBA, like you sign up to a university program. Now, you don't think of the 3-year degree that you sign up for as being a monthly subscription, even though it kind of is if you amortize the cost over 3 years. Mm-hmm. But you're signing up for a thing, a package to get an outcome. And so generally we have found when people frame their memberships not as a membership, not as a course, not even as a community, but frame it as a program, or like, we're framing ours as a mentorship program that helps you dream outcome, that helps you build a 100K a year lifestyle business, that then sort of helps evade the sort of price anchoring that memberships and communities have, which is like cheap monthly membership. I'll probably cancel for a few months, unfortunately.
Really appreciate that take. There's always so many different varied opinions. I know you've been in the business though several years and have had lots of iterations of yours. So thank you for sharing. All right. Are you ready for some questions, Ollie?
Let's do it.
All right. I really like this question a lot. Hold on. Let me scroll down and highlight it here. So what's advice you wish you hadn't taken?
Oh, good question. What is advice I wish I hadn't taken? Early on, when I was running live cohorts for my YouTuber course, one of my mentors said that like, hey, you sold out for the first time you did it and the second time you did it. So you should just run more and more and more and more of these cohorts, because like, chances are you're going to sell out each one. And I was like, okay then. But what I failed to realize is that when you sell anything, the first time round is always really easy. The second time around is always really easy because you're sort of skimming off the top of your warmest audience, the people that have been with you for absolutely years. And yes, in between cohorts, we were gaining an extra 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, but those are completely brand new people that have not had 7 years of trust building with me. And so just because the audience number has increased by 50K doesn't mean that we're naturally going to sell out the next cohort of the course. And so I kind of over time have, I kind of like Amy Porterfield's approach to this, where she launches her course thing once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a big deal when it happens. If it was like 3 or 4 times a year, people would stop caring. And it would be like she'd be on the marketing hamster wheel forever. And so I was on this marketing hamster wheel for 3 years because we were launching cohorts far too often. And so I regret taking that advice early on.
Very, very. I love that. I love the question too. Okay, this one's from Eris. What tips do you have? Hold on. There we go. What tips do you have if results and promise is intangible or more internal, like finding purpose? Do you really need tons of videos in a portal to have content to support this?
Okay, so firstly, you don't need tons of videos in a portal. The misconception people have is that people want stuff. So let me give them more stuff. But actually, these days, people are inundated with stuff already. No one feels like these days, hey, there's 156 hours of content in the portal is no longer a flex. People are like, holy fuck, like, who's got time for that? So the thing I have to always train people out of is the desire. Obviously, if you're charging money, you want to give people value, but we equate value with stuff, whereas the customer equates value with getting the transformation faster and easier, which often involves less stuff. Now, what do you do if the promise is intangible or internal and stuff? This is really tricky. We have a bunch of students in our program that are like life coaches or mindset coaches, or we help you overcome imposter syndrome, or we help you find your purpose. And it is way harder to sell those types of things. It's also way harder to charge high amounts of money for those sorts of things. It's not to say it's impossible, but when you have an intangible promise, you are choosing to play business on hard mode, where it will be harder for you to sell because it's not clear what the ROI is. The thing that we are trying to do with our students is workshop it with them to try and come up with some kind of tangible thing that you can point to as a result of the internal transformation that you get. Because for the most part, most people do not want to buy an internal transformation. They want to buy an external transformation, and the internal transformation, of course, we all know the internal transformation is more important, but the internal transformation happens almost as a side effect. So it's something like finding purpose. Can we tie it to anything that helps them make more money, save time, become healthier, find love, like the core human desires, like increase the social status? Can we say finding purpose equals land your dream job? Okay, that's tangible. I know there's all this nuance that you're probably thinking, oh, but like it's not quite as, there's some nuance. It's not quite land your dream job. It's more like find purpose in general, blah, 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 blah. But when figuring out what's the promise, we kind of want to get rid of our nuance heavy brains that are like, oh, but there's so much nuance. The nuance can come later once they're in the program, once they're on the sales call, whatever. But when identifying a promise, you are playing business on hard mode if your outcome is intangible.
Great advice. I love it. We're going to rapid fire. We've got another question. I really like this. What techniques have you found help hold people's attention span and actually do the work, especially when they can't see the path to the outcome quite yet?
Okay, let me show you exactly what we have done to address this, because this is sick. People love it. Basically, anytime someone signs up to our program now, they get their own Notion page. So like Johnny's Lifestyle Business HQ. And we have specific milestones: offer, discovery call, sale, case study. And for each of the milestones, we have quests. So we have a niche discovery quest where there's like a checklist and action steps. So step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they can literally go through and they can do the action steps. And it, once they've done it, I've written down my initial niche ideas and fleshed them out so that me and my coach and the LBA team have context about. And so then we've got like the synced checkboxes. So it's like, you can literally click into anyone's thing and they can click into their Notion pages and they can see exactly what the step-by-step roadmap is. And when we unveiled this to our students, their minds were freaking blown because, again, like building $100,000 a year lifestyle business falls into that category of like, it feels like the thing where it's like, it's really hard, but it's hard to see the steps. It's hard to see the outcome. And so we have done the work of like taking the thing of the dream outcome they want, really breaking it down based on our own expertise and like familiarity with the space into step-by-step milestones, breaking those milestones down into quests, breaking those quests down into step-by-step action points, and then showing that to the students on day one. So they're like, I can now see the roadmap that's ahead of me. Because it's really hard for someone to be motivated if they can't see the road ahead. But if you show them the road ahead, because you can spend many hours figuring it out and mapping it out, if you show them the road ahead, they're far more likely to stay engaged.
Wow. And you make those for every new student?
Yes. I mean, we copy and paste it for each new student, but each
Of
new student
course, of course.
has their own one. And they've
Yeah,
got
so
their own
it's
Google
kind of like
Sheet. Yeah.
doing a lot of the work up front and then copying it.
Yes,
But
100%.
it feels incredibly personalized though. Like I love the
Yeah,
way that
exactly.
feels when you go into for the first time. It just goes to that level of almost like hospitality, if you will, of like, wow, they're really thinking about me and my journey through this program.
Yeah, this is again to your point that you made earlier, which is that I think it's just moving towards higher touch, more community, more intimate experiences. So what we
Mhm.
create is an intimate experience because we've done a shit ton of work up front. And actually we're sort of even adding to this as we have people in the program, because we've through feedback we're realizing, oh, we missed out something over there and people are struggling over here, and now we're having to go through and manually update 50 different students' Notion pages, which is fine. We'll
Yeah.
do the work. One of the big realizations is that the more work you can do for your customers, the happier they'll be. No one wants to do any work, right? So if you can make the dream outcome for them as easy as possible, in our case, we're helping people build businesses. We can't build the business for them, but we can certainly do our best to make the rest of the process as easy as possible. Give them all the templates they need, give them the Google Sheet, write the formulas for them in the Google Sheet so they don't have to worry about that. The more work you can take off your customers' plate, the more they will like you for it.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. Next question from Shiraz. I'm trying to build an educational website for a community, but I have this constant feeling that what I'm building is not worth it. Will people not pay for it and my efforts will be wasted? How do I overcome this feeling? And I picked this question because I think that at any point, a creator has this feeling in some way or another. How have you overcome this feeling in your own experiences?
Oh, I love it. This is a feeling that happens when you are creating from your own internal source and you're not using the market to tell you if your idea is good. So in Shiraz's case, he probably has not talked to any customers. He probably has not validated, is there a market for the thing? Are people actually willing to pay? Can you pre-sell a beta cohort of the thing? Right now, for our Lifestyle Business Academy, before starting to build it, we actually sold it. We sold it based on a Google Doc, based on a Loom, based on me doing sales calls. And then once I realized that people are literally giving us $6,800 for the case study founders cohort, it's normally going to be 10K, but we sort of dropped the price if you're part of the beta cohort. We got the validation, and then we started building the thing. In the past, whenever we have tried building the thing first and selling it second, we have always completely flopped, because you want to sell first, build second. You only want to start building when you know you have market validation. Because yeah, you're probably right. They probably don't want what you are selling or what you are building, which is why I would sell it first and build it second.
This I'm gonna like double down on this question. So how do we resist the urge to start a business based solely on our personal passions or what we think is cool instead of building something that the market actually needs?
I mean, if you build something based on personal passion and what you think is cool, that's known as a hobby. It's not known as a business. A business is a thing that adds value to someone else in return for their money. And so if you are trying to make money from something that no one wants, man, you are signing up for a world of pain. It's just not fun. Even if you start out passionate about the thing, if your goal is money and no one wants the thing, you're going to get burned out very, very quickly, because your goal, which is money, and your process, which is passion and like hobbyist approach to it, are just completely misaligned. If
Mhm.
you want to do it for fun, I play the guitar for fun. I kind of suck at the guitar. I'm getting better at it, but I don't have any aspirations to make money from it. If I did, I'd be doing drastically different things, and I'd be figuring out what do people want, because a business adds value to other people in return for their money. Money is an exchange of value. The only reason people will give you money is if you provide more value to them than the money that they've got in their pocket. So it's just about being less selfish. And I don't mean that to sound like a dick. It's just like it's quite like self-centered to build a business based on your own passions and what you think is cool. If you don't want to make money from it, amazing. I'm all for people doing hobbies, but if you want to make money from it, you kind of need people to give it to you. That's the only way to make money, unless you're the Fed, and then you're allowed to print cash. But most of us are not that.
Okay, next question. This kind of is a nod to the way that you started. This is from Sumit. So, how important is content and profile brand building before you actually dabble into monetization and
Oh
considering
man,
it as a business
I
versus a
love
side
this question.
hustle?
This is a great question. Okay, so back in the day, the path used to be, I would say, let's call it creator first. So you spend ages building an audience, and for many years, you build an audience, you make all this content, and you build an audience of people who know, like, and trust you. And eventually, once you have an audience, you think about monetization. This is how the world worked, let's say 2017 to 2021. It is no longer how the world works. If I were to start again, I would absolutely not follow the model of build an audience first, monetize it second. Because, firstly, all of the algorithms are changing. It's less about the social graph and more about the interest graph. Followers and subscribers mean less and less over time. YouTube is even literally testing a feature that I've got on my phone where they don't even show you a creator's subscriber count when you're on a video. You have to click into their channel to see the subscriber count. The way all of these algorithms work is that they don't really care who follows you anymore. What they care about is the content good? Is it vibing with people? Are people sufficiently engaging with it, et cetera, et cetera. And if we add to that the macro trend of AI content being super easy, the barriers to entry becoming lower and lower, everyone with an internet connection knows they can make money on the internet. Everything is becoming so saturated. So the method now, in my in my not so humble opinion, is you want to start out with a very clear idea of what is your niche and what is your offer. Like, what is the thing you're going to sell? And then once you validated it, that there's a market for the thing. Now, when you start doing content, even if the content only gets a few, like, I don't know, a few hundred views, at least those 100 views are the right sorts of people that will hopefully be interested in your offer. And so now you're able to make money fairly early on. And it's just really, really hard to make content for years and years and years and not make any money from it, because you're still investing stuff into it. You're still investing time, you're still investing money. Like, you probably have a life, you probably have a family, you probably have a job. Like, it's not like you're just unemployed and just sort of hanging out, delighted to make 40 hours of YouTube videos every single week. When you can get very clear on who is the person, what is the transformation that they want, from you're helping them get from A to B. Your offer or your products are, the bridge that helps them go from where they are to where they want to be. But your content also then becomes a bridge that helps them get them one step closer to the dream outcome. And now you have alignment. To that point that I made earlier on, when you have alignment between the content you're making and the thing that you're selling, you are playing life on easy mode, and we make lots of money and we are very happy. When you are randomly making content in the hope that maybe one day you'll get hundreds of thousands of followers and then maybe some percentage of those might want to buy your stuff, that is a game I do not want to sign up for. And it's honestly a game that I think does not work anymore without relying on a load of luck. So I would recommend figure out your niche, figure out your offer, at least have a rough idea of what is the transformation you're going to offer people, and then your content and your products are aligned with that particular target audience and value proposition.
I love it. I'm seeing a lot of love for this in the chat too. This is so like heartening to hear. Thank you. Thank you so much. You always come and bring the most transparency, the most honesty, and I love that it's like a true kind of pulse check of where you are in your business. So thank you for always being so honest. There was one question earlier. What is the brand of the whiteboard you're using? Lots of curiosity in that in the
Oh,
chat.
easy. It's just the iPad app Notability, and I've just hooked it up to QuickTime Player on my Mac, which is just built-in software. And so when I share my screen, I'm sharing QuickTime Player, and so I can just draw on the iPad, um, which is why you see, like, there's this sign. I just happen to be using my iPad as like the video source for QuickTime Player, so it's nothing fancy. It'll be fancier next year if you guys invite me back.
Of course. And it's called Notability.
Yeah, that's the app on the
Okay.
iPad.
Okay. Thank you. And Ollie, I know where I can find you online, but can you share where's the place that you are spending the most time on right now? You're most passionate and you would love for people to follow you there.
Yeah, I mean, so the YouTube channel is still somewhat going strong, so you can check me out on YouTube. And if you would like to build a lifestyle business, go to lifestylebusiness.com. We spent $27,000 on that domain name, so I hope it comes in handy. But we're trying to build lifestylebusiness.com into the ultimate resource for people trying to build lifestyle businesses. So there will be some stuff on there soon, and you can find out more about our program if you would like.
I love it. And for those of you in the chat, as we have Ollie exit the stage, drop your biggest takeaway from Ollie's session. whether it was one of his strategies, some of his advice. I would love for him to read that and just feel the good vibes of what he, brought to the summit today. So, Ollie, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Bye.